Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/Macho Grande. Over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player.
Spitting everywhere.
That's right.
You can keep that in. Alright guys, welcome to Macho Grande 189. I'm spitting everywhere and I'm Matt.
And I'm Pete.
We have got a kick-ass show for you today. We kicked off with Conjurer.
Yeah.
With their track Wretch. Now tell me a bit about these guys, because I don't know anything about these guys.
I don't know if you remember, but last year I put Atan...
I don't remember anything about last year.
I put Atan on at the club. And Conjurer was the band we got to headline. And they were awesome live, really, really brutal. And they went down a storm. And people were sort of saying then, you know, good things are going to happen to this band. Yeah,
you haven't?
Well, we're waiting still. This is
okay.
This is the first track that they've released off their upcoming album. It's called Maya, and it comes out on February 23rd via Holy Roar. They've been around since like 2014. They're somewhere from the Midlands. And
I like it. Nice and vague.
Yeah. So, do you know what? They weren't from near Sheffield. I remember that. So, but I couldn't tell you. But they were fucking ace live and really heavy. So, and if that track's anything to go by, then yeah, I'm really looking forward to that album.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, what have we got coming up in today's show?
Well, we're going to review the brand new Machine Head album.
Pete has also almost kind of preempted his review for me by attaching. Pete always surprises me each week with little images on our spreadsheet that he kindly puts together. So yeah, this one has a particularly good image, which I think is going to be the theme of today's show, and it is the Spinal Tap album Shark Sandwich.
What a classic.
It's a classic album, which I think, one magazine even had merely a 2-word review.
They certainly did.
Yeah, so
we're going to deal with that thing that's out now.
We are going to deal with that.
We're going to play... Actually, it's quite a brutal show. We've got Sleeping Giant and Genocide Pact that we're going to creep in. And also, I've got you a mystery box, mate.
Oh, that will cheer me up. That will cheer me up, because this week has been terrible. Everything is going to hell.
You want to turn the news off, mate?
Yeah, I do need to really stop watching the news. I think that's where my everything has gone wrong for me.
So yeah, go check out Conjurer. That track's called Wretch. It's online now, and look out for their new album. So what have you been listening to other than Machine Head?
Other than Machine Head, I have been listening to a fair few things. I am just bringing up my playlist and trying to remember. So yes, the Centuries album.
Oh, cool.
Which is nice and brutal, and thank you for getting me a copy of that, because it is very good.
Yeah, I thought you'd
I've had that on good rotation, really digging it. Still listening to Night Versus.
Oh,
Can't
God,
stop
yeah.
listening to that.
Yeah, so good.
I've been checking out, you sent me over the band that we're actually going to be playing later on in the show as well, Sleeping Giant. Their album I Am, so I've only had a quick blast through that, but I'm looking forward to playing that for everyone. And August Burns Red have released a remix, like re-recorded, re-edited version of Messengers.
Yeah, I saw this. So what, they've actually gone in, remixed the whole thing, or?
Well, yeah, it's a remixing
like a remaster
of it all.
Right,
yeah.
Okay.
So it's not like they've gone and re-recorded the whole thing, and they've remastered it and re-released it. Obviously, with today's technology kind of added to it, so it just brings in that extra level of clarity here and there. And if you know the Messengers album, kind of one of their biggest, I'd say
that's my favourite one, to be honest.
Yeah, it's really cool hearing it like this. It's just like, oh yeah, now. I mean, especially tracks like Backburner, which sounded amazing. I mean, when did the album come out? It was
Ponana, so like 2004 or 5, something like that.
7.
Oh, okay, I'm talking shit. Oh yeah, no, of course, because at Ponana, we was playing the first album.
Yeah, we're still going back 11 years, and yeah, it's cool just hearing it in a kind of. Just because of the amount of times I've listened to that album as it is, it's cool hearing it in a slightly different context. I'm quite a fan of albums that I've really, listened into the ground.
I thought you were just going to say the past then.
No, yeah. No, I mean, just hearing things in a friend, like a big fan of like Pearl Jam did a revisit of 10. And in fact, they've done that for Versus and... in fact, the first 3 albums, I believe, now. And it's just so cool hearing it, especially on 10, because like that album is reverbed to hell. And then hearing it with all of that stripped away and, remixed with just the clarity of modern sort of software bringing things to it just makes the whole thing a completely new experience. But yeah, what about yourself? What have you been listening to? I mean, obviously Machine Head, because, it's a banger.
Oh, Marmoset's, that's been the main one. It's really good. And bearing in mind that Marmoset's isn't quite my normal cup of tea, but I did like the first album, and I've still been...
What is your normal cup of tea, Pete?
Well, miserable stuff, I'd say. Stuff that makes you sad.
Okay. Like,
and Marmoset's, they're quite upbeat, and they're quite poppy, and she's got such a good voice. I mean, their first album I still play at the club pretty much every week. And
yeah, this has been a while in the making well, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a few years ago now. The debut came out, The Weird and Wonderful Marmosettes. And this album, I mean, there's a couple of tracks that I don't like, But there are some absolute bangers, and it's really fun to listen to, and it's, I don't know, there's an intelligence about them as well. So, have you heard it or not yet?
I haven't. I mean, I don't think I've even listened to the debut album.
Oh, you'd like it.
All the way through.
It's really good.
I don't know.
No? Okay.
I don't know.
I thought you might have liked that first album. I don't know, there's a bit of that charm of, I would have said, like, you kind of early Biffy, you know, type riffs at times. You know, that just an intelligence to the riffs and the way the songs are built.
It was one of those that was kind of pushed by people that I'm not a fan of, and it just put me off. And I know that is an unfair thing to... that's an unfair thing to apply to it.
I think you'll be surprised. It's really quite riffy, because I mean, somebody the other day just said, "Oh, well, they're just like a poppy Paramore." No, they're like a heavier, more intelligent Paramore.
Yeah, I always thought the tracks that I've heard, I sort of find them a more radio friendly Rolo Tomasi.
That's quite good actually. I mean, yeah, the radio friendliness is there, and obviously, yeah, it's not as bonkers as Rolo, but the riffs are there, and she's got such a good voice. So. The new out, Knowing What You Know Now is what it's called, and it is out now. But there's a couple of tracks on there that are just amazing. So yeah, that's well worth a listen. And then that's mostly it. I've actually been going back and listening to some Deaf Heaven and Silver Mount Zion, and just had a few kind of old emo records on as well that I was just digging back through. So not too much new stuff. Still listening to that Culture, which we're going to play soon. That's really good. So yeah, but it's all been about Machine Head, to be honest. Unfortunately.
Okay, yeah. Well, we're not going to start the review now, but there is a lot on this album. I mean, it is what, 78 minutes long?
Yes,
something like that. 76, 78 minutes long. So that does take up a good part of your day.
Yep, 15.
Especially
15
when you have
songs.
15 songs, and you got to take a break between each one to play something decent.
Do you know what? We've not talked about this at all, but I imagined you being fairer on it than me. But let's wait anyway.
Okay.
Right, so we're gonna jump into Sleeping Giant now. Have you heard these before?
No.
Because hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna have to put the dog down.
Really, I can hear. Don't put the dog down. For the love of God, don't put the dog down. But I did like the Clippity Clop. For those that aren't aware, Pete records with his dog, just like I record with my dog, except his Clippity Clops and mine sleeps.
There we go. I'm back. All I can hear is tap dancing. She wouldn't settle.
Yeah, I was just telling the listeners all about it.
Okay, cool.
Don't worry, that's a little Easter egg just for you when you edit this together.
Nice. Okay. Sleeping Giants, I didn't know the name at all, even though this is their 5th album, and apparently this is going to be their last album. Yeah, that's what it says.
Okay.
I had heard of most of the band, apart from, I think, the drummer, were in Death Stars.
I have heard of them.
They're mostly known for being on Facedown Records. This new album's also on Facedown Records. It came out 26th January. They had one on Century Media as well, which I'm surprised I haven't got that.
Right. I was not aware of any of this. I kind of have heard of the band name, but I didn't realise they were so far into it. But yeah.
But this sounds really good. You say you've done one listen through.
Yeah, because you popped it in last night, and I've done a quick blast through of it as I sort of dropped it into iTunes and just left it playing. And from what I've listened to, it's there's some stuff in there. There's some really nasty riffs in there, but I'm still not 100% on it yet, because there was something that was like, ooh, I'm not sure about that bit.
Right.
But I can't remember what that bit was, so I do need to listen to it again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to see if it says why but it says they've announced that they're going to do their farewell show final show on February 17th, and then this is going to be the last album. So I'm not quite sure what happened, what they're doing next, but yeah, there you go.
Well, at least we get to play.
Well, that's what I thought. I quite like it when we suddenly discover a band and then you've got their back catalogue to discover. So.
Oh, right. I thought you were going to say I really like it whenever you discover a band only to find that they split up a week later. Yeah, there's nothing better than that. Like Me and Refused.
It would be worse if like some of the smaller bands that we played then always seem to split up. It'd be like a bit of a curse.
Oh, don't worry, that happens too.
Okay, right, fine.
What track?
Let's go for track 1. This is called Preach Core Lives.
Anvonare speglan, nbsp Christ. Anvonare speglan, mi puedes, nbsp Christ. Peak
From the underground, we leave behind a legacy of praise. Kingdom over everything. I can still feel the rain. Thinking back over these last years, reminded again, you're the only joy in this world of pain. Pain. Let your word run wild, and our hearts be filled with your fire and rain, and recognition of one true name. Let the freedom come, and the truth be seen. My prayer is that all may know what you truly mean to me. I'm from the underground, we leave behind a legacy of praise. Don't perform for the crowd, but reform for the crown. Sleeping giant. Kingdom over everything. You'll have the words of life. You'll see the fear in their eyes, but don't be intimidated. The darkness in them is just afraid of the light. Let your word run wild, and our hearts be filled with your fire and rain, and recognition of one true name. Let the freedom come, and the truth be seen. My prayer is that all may know what you truly mean to me. Christ, my strength, my song. All my life is yours. Till we meet again, I will worship for an audience of one. For an audience of one. We leave behind a legacy of praise.
Okay, so that was Sleeping Giant. That track was called Preach Core Lives. Right, let's get into the news. The greatest and best news that could ever possibly happen that just completely came out of the blue is that Dredge have confirmed that they're working on a new album.
Yeah, I did see that. That was one of the most shared stories on the PRP.
It's gone mental on there.
night.
Yeah, and like the comment list was ace. I mean, so this all started because there was a picture on Facebook, and then in the comments section, Drew said, yeah, it's the first day of writing the new album.
Ooh.
So, fingers crossed. And yeah, hopefully
You're excited?
I'm very
are
excited.
I can feel the vibe coming through my headphones.
Yeah, well, it's been a long time, and then obviously the last album, most people, weren't happy. It wasn't great. The band are very aware of that, so it certainly won't be in that direction, I wouldn't have thought. And I can't imagine they're working with Dan the Automator again.
No, hey, it was a fun experiment. That it's a big swing, and at least it's a big swing.
Yeah, I mean, it was a miss, but they did say on that album, it was a collaboration. So
we're doing something different, which is fine. So, Schrodinger's Tool album. Have you been following this?
Are we still on for September?
Is it September now?
That was my guess. Yeah.
Oh, right.
So I missed this story. Did Maynard said it won't be ready for the summer? Is that right?
Yeah. So let me just sort of scroll back, because there was a nice bit of back and forth if you followed the news articles today.
Okay.
article saying Tool recently played members of Behemoth and a few others some new songs.
Oh right, no, I didn't hear about this.
People, and then there's like a photo of them with like Behemoth and some other people. I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of that person. But anyway, yeah, in the studio, premiering them some albums. Then Maynard, in another article, said, "Oh well, it's not going to be this summer. If it would be lucky if it is this year, late end of the year kind of thing." Then there's another, and then it was like, okay, so we were up and then we were down, and then just in another article, Justin Chancellor showing off some new bass lines at a music event, like a showcasing bass guitar.
Oh, is it Numb? That's taking place at the minute.
Yeah, so and playing some new sort of like bass lines which might feature on the album. So there's just this like, oh, so right, okay, well at least something's happening. Essentially, that is the short and the curly of this whole news article, is that things are happening, which is nice.
Oh, well, that's good, isn't it? We can all relax.
Yeah, great. Did you see? I didn't watch the footage actually, but the Machine Head had a bus accident crash.
Yeah, so this fairly big articulated lorry in front of their tour bus wasn't indicating and then turned right, and they had to kind of narrowly avoid but also hit it slightly. So, yeah, there's dash cam footage available online if you want to watch that. But everybody was fine, and their tour driver managed to avoid, something that could have been potentially a lot worse.
Yeah, it's just that, it's that scary sort of...
Yeah.
Could have been terrible, but yeah.
Slayer have announced that they're doing their final world tour.
But does that mean they're splitting up?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine there'll be another album now if they're doing that, but who knows? We'll see. I would quite like to get to see them on this run if possible, because I've still never seen them in a club. I've seen them loads of times, but it's always been that kind of middle of the afternoon festival slot. So I'd quite like to at least see them once in the dark.
Okay. Once in the dark.
Yeah. And then I'll be
Slayer
happy.
in the dark. Yeah, that's it. Well, yeah, I think I have seen Slayer in the dark, but it's only been either supporting other bands in an arena or something.
Right. Mastodon won a Grammy.
Yes, I was just going to say the Grammys were handed out on Sunday night. Yeah, we got Foo Fighters and...
The thing that got me is why, 2 years in a row, August Burns Red being nominated for Grammys. Like, who... out of all the bands in the world, in the metal world, I'm not saying August Burns Red are a bad band, but they're not deserving of a Grammy. Not that I care about the Grammys, but there's so many bands out there. How on earth do they get nominated twice, randomly?
Because, as you kind of alluded to within your own question, the Grammys aren't really to be taken that seriously, because they see the pool of metal and rock as rather small and something similar to a UK festival headlining slot.
I mean, surely that kind of proves no thought goes into it. Yeah, it's just bonkers that. I mean, that just takes all credibility from what there was anyway, because that's just madness.
Aren't these the same people that played Metallica while Megadeth were walking upstage, and you're telling them that now they've lost credibility?
So, yeah, I mean, it's nice to see Mastodon get a nod, but yeah, I don't get it at all. So
no, but at least they got free drinks, and that's all that matters.
Jonathan Davis has released his first track from his upcoming solo album. It's quite catchy. I quite like it.
I haven't heard it, but
I mean, it's not great. But
there's a seal of approval. It's not great, but I kind of like it.
It's a grower. I think
that's
it's all
what
right.
They all say.
Adam Duce has slammed Rob Flynn in a bit of a rant online.
Who did? Oh, yes. Adam Duce dropped a deuce on the album that they dropped a deuce on.
Yeah, it's all getting a bit bitchy now.
It's kind of funny.
It is funny. I mean, I still to this day, it makes me laugh because my interview with Adam when I was... it had been Burning Red, so quite a long time ago, is hands down the worst interview I've ever done. Because he just wasn't. And fair play to the guy. Look, he was fucking bass player, Machine Head. He's chatting to some 17-year-old kid. But it was just, I had to stop the interview because he was that boring.
Just like that. Well,
it was weird.
he does strike me as hard work, so bless him.
So so that's online if you want to have a read of that.
Yeah, it's very funny, especially if you're following all the other things that are going on.
Well, especially knowing how much Rob takes all this stuff to heart as well.
Yeah, it's kind of just, I don't know. I suppose given the. Yeah, I mean, you go from looking at the news and the craziness to then you go looking at something as lighthearted as music articles, and it's crazy as well. What's going on?
The other thing I put down was Download have announced a whole pile of new bands.
Oh, yes, it has, hasn't it?
The main stage is, I don't want to spend too long talking about this, but the main stage is looking a bit weird, and having Thunder.
I think we can both agree that the main stage is aggressively not for us.
It isn't. I mean, to be fair, they've got some decent names that will pull that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
crowd.
I do want to see Bullet because the last album was great, and I think that they've turned it around a little bit. But at the same time, I don't know if they can ever regain the sort of headline potential that they have.
I'm very surprised that they're that high up the bill.
Yeah.
When Avenged are their headliners. Very surprised. And Volbeat, I mean, they're another weird one because obviously in Europe, they are massive and they headline the festivals in their own right over there. But over here, it's been a slow burn. I mean, people are definitely coming around to them, but it's taken a long time. But yeah, Thunder on the main stage, Jesus.
Yeah, bizarre. Anyway, if you essentially rip off the top third of the poster, it's a brilliant festival.
Yeah, it's awesome. Why don't you go a bit further down? It's fucking incredible.
But if you don't go and watch anything on the main stage, there's so much to watch on the other stages. It's great.
There is some good bands. So, I mean, most notably for us is obviously getting to see Alexis on Fire and Meshuggah and Thrice.
Bury Tomorrow again. Let's see else. Rise Against. That was one of our second stage headliners picks.
And it's looking like Partway are definitely headlining second stage, which is cool for them.
Yeah. Hives, very excited. They're always great as a headliner. At a festival, love seeing them live. Cancer Bats, Jamie Lenman, Employed to Serve, Straight from the Path. Who else we got?
What did you think about Tesseract's billing? Because this is this age-old thing of, would you rather be bigger stage but middle of the afternoon, or headlining a smaller stage? And they're headlining the Dogtooth, which is the really small one. Well, now bearing in mind we last saw them on the second stage, and they had a huge crowd, and it sounded amazing. Yeah, it was really cool.
And that was it was literally the return of Dan as well.
Yeah, but
weekend.
I don't know that. I'd rather see him do that. I'd rather see him second stage, main stage.
Hey, well, look, given where they're at, I think I would have preferred to see them on the Avalanche stage headline.
Right.
But at the same time, I do want to see them do a headline because at least it mixes things up a bit. It's like, good,
yeah, I guess
they're doing a headline. And even, carrying on with the Dogtooth stage, I mean, your other headliners, Thy Heart Is Murder and Baroness, I mean, that in itself is a great little mini festival. Tesseract, Thy Heart Is Murder, Baroness, that's great. Download, that's what you do. Do what you've done on this stage and the second stage. Apply that now to each year. Because I don't know what you're doing on the main stage this year, but whoever you've had in charge of the other stages, that's fantastic lineup.
I mean, that main stage, but I mean, I can understand why, because, and we've said this the last few years, that the crowds for those kind of just slightly older, middle of the road stuff is massive, and that is clearly what they've gone for this year.
Yeah, and you clearly will. You can see that the people who've come for the weekend, for those bands, for the main stage, are all in one place, and they
Yeah.
will stay in one place all weekend, which again leaves hopefully space for us to sort of move around.
And did you see Zealanada on there as well? That's awesome.
Yes,
I'm very
I
excited
did.
about that. Although I am worried that that'll be a bit early in the day. But yeah.
No, and I think it'll be rammed as well. It will be absolutely rammed. But yeah, I'm very excited to see Baroness doing a headline slot in the tent as well. And who was the other one that I saw on there that was kind of excited about? Well, Merker's on there as well.
Oh yeah, no, I'd like to see that. Yeah.
But yeah, very excited. I hope that they manage to add on a few extra bands in that sort of ilk, the way that they've done that, because I think that was cracking. Good announcement. Actually excited for Download.
Good.
Now I just need to make sure I don't get sunburned.
Yeah. Well, it's got to happen one year, surely.
That was last year.
Yeah, you managed to get sunburned in the rain.
Yeah, let's not get sunburned again.
Right, so let's play another track.
Genocide Pact.
This, I don't know these guys either. This is totally new on me. Their album's called Order of Torment. It comes out on 2nd of February via Relapse. They're from Washington, D.C. And, yeah, it's just sounded pretty brutal, so I thought I'd include it.
Wicked.
Let's go for Conquered and Disposed.
Genocide
right, so that was Genocide Pact. Okay, so one of the most anticipated releases of the year just came out. Machine Head released their 9th studio album. It's called Catharsis. Yeah, we've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, I was kind of looking forward to it, to be fair.
And I think we were in the mindset for it to be a bit different and divisive as well, because Rob has openly sort of said quite a bit about this album before it came out.
Yeah, I mean, we both went into this after the whole outburst, which we talked about in the last episode, where he was kicking the magazine...
Decibel, yeah.
Decibel for the way they reviewed it. Now, I'm going to, from the outset, the artwork is terrible.
Yeah, it's rubbish.
The artwork really is crap. But I had on the first, let me think, the first 5 songs, and I was like, I don't know what the problem is. I say 5. I'll say 5, because before we get into it, but yeah, like track 4 is pretty crap, but like certainly the first 5 I was like, okay, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know what the big fuss is, and then the album really begins. And so by that point you still have 10 tracks to go. And boy, oh boy, do you feel everyone.
I don't ever want to hear this album again. I mean, I don't want to just slag this off for 20 minutes.
No, I don't want to slag it off either, because it doesn't. I don't get any pleasure from this, but this is a bad album.
I think that honestly they should be quite embarrassed of some of this. Some of the ideas are there. There are 1 or 2 moments like peppered throughout.
Just going off from the beginning, I think Volatile is an absolutely amazing Slipknot track, Slipknot B-side.
It's also the main. This is one of the problems I have, is that bits of the songs will be fine, and then something will come in that I either won't like or I think is a bit childish, a bit moronic. Like half the lyrics, my God. I mean,
well, I thought you were just about to say, and then Rob comes in.
And then Rob ruins most of the album, but also it doesn't help that, you know, several of the riffs have been pointed out that they're by other bands. Now, I can kind of... I understand that can happen, but it's a shame that when I hear it, that's what I now think. So when I hear Volatile, straight away, this is all right. Oh, wait, no, yeah, but there's a Chimera riff. It's, It's completely lifted off the first track off that Chimera album. And then to go with it, you've got, you know, Fuck the World or Middle Fingers Up, or it's just this moronic lyrics.
Yeah.
That just spoils the track for me, because otherwise it kind of Volatile would have been all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the interesting thing. Like, even for the first couple of listens, like Volatile, Catharsis.
Right, hands down, Catharsis, the track itself, for me, that's a pretty near perfect track. I think it's all right. I really like that song, and there's little moments with guitar effects and stuff that are really cool. The chorus is good. I even like the solo.
Yeah, and that's kind of the most Onto the Locust-esque.
Yeah, even the percussion and the riff near the end, that is really well done. Like, I do really like that track.
Beyond the Pale is aggressively mediocre. But the riff, I mean, right, so this is what I was going to say. It's like, the riffing wise, I mean, certainly, if you're just listening to the drumming and the riffing and the music, 1, 2, 3, and 5 are really decent, and you don't really notice the sort of the bits that you start picking up after you start putting it into the context of the remaining 11 songs. So, yeah, okay, so Beyond the Pale is, like I say, I think Volatile is a decent start off. Catharsis is probably the best track on the album.
Yeah.
Beyond the Pale is aggressively mediocre. California Bleeding is bad. It's not the worst track on the album, but it's bad.
And it's far too long. Like, it wouldn't be too bad if that was trimmed down. There probably is a song in there if it was just completely re-edited.
And then I really like Triple Beam because it's so childishly funny that I like it. It's painfully hilarious.
When we reviewed King 810, and obviously people liked King amazingly. Some of the press got behind King 810, and then all of a sudden we started to see bands copying that style, and obviously Parkway did a bit of it, and now Rob Flynn's doing it, and the riff at the beginning is great. It's a nice, really good stompy, groovy riff. But then he brings all his King 810 stuff. And one of the things in all the interviews prior to this is Rob, obviously he came out and said about the statement about not singing Let Freedom Ring with a Shotgun Blast anymore. And one of the things he kept saying in the run-up to this album was that he's not that person. He's not that angry person from years ago. He's not out on the streets. So, now, I'm not a lyric guy, but peppered throughout this album are constant references to knives and drugs and guns and being on the street and all this stuff. And it's like, well, make up your mind. Just make up your mind. What are you meant to be doing? Because
and Trump.
It's just, lyrically, it's so bad.
It's like Rob has gone, okay, so I've got a couple of Slipknot riffs. I've got a couple of new metal riffs. I've been listening to a lot of King 810. Kids seem really down with that. I really like the fact that you've got bands like Parkway, or certainly like Architects, that have a bit of a political message and a political edge to their songs. But I don't really know how to write political songs, and I certainly don't know how to write political lyrics. I'm used to writing about shooting guns and letting...
That's all it boils down to, is all his lyrics on this are either... burn it, smash it, tear it down, or fuck this, or middle fingers up, or I don't give a fuck, or do you know what I mean? The whole thing.
Kids are really into, like Rise Against mixed with Bring Me the Horizon. So he's kind of stuck all of that in one, and then kind of forgotten what Machine Head kind of are. So you've kind of got the most Machine Head songs at the beginning. And then Catharsis begins from sort of track 6 onwards, which is...
I don't mind the chorus of Kaleidoscope, but
Kaleidoscope, I think, is... It has moments, but it is severely subpar. Like, and then...
Let's get to the real treat of the album.
The real treat of the album, the Dropkick Murphys make an appearance.
This is... the amount of times I've tried putting this on, not just this song but this album as a whole, and I've had to skip songs because 2/3 of the way through I'm just like, I've had enough. I can't fucking take any more of this crap.
Exactly the same. After sort of like third listen, you're kind of like, I know this one.
Bastards is horrific, and if you're one of the people out there that thinks it's okay, you're wrong.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, it's not good even by Dropkick Murphy standards, and I hate the Dropkick Murphys. So, like, look. I don't know what he's thinking, but like, I mean,
and fair play to a band to try and get away with, change of pace or just trying experimenting things out. But at the end of the day, a good song is a good song, and half the stuff on here is just, it's not up to standard at all.
No, it is just not good enough. It's not good at all. I mean, it's certainly not worthy of. Do experiment with like a 5-track EP. Don't do your 15-song
with 2 ballads on it.
15-song album. It's 75 minutes of.
Come on, right, let's get through the filler crap that comes after that.
Oh right, well, obviously you're talking about track 6 to 15. Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
We don't need to do this track by track because it's just not good, and there might be 1 or 2 moments, but then he ruins it with something.
Yeah, I mean,
and it has there's no focus.
Okay. Working backwards, Eulogy isn't even a closer. It's 6.5 minutes of not really much of anything. It's kind of like outtakes from vocal samples that they did on Locust. I don't know what, and it doesn't go anywhere. You think it's building to a big album closer, and it's not. It just finishes as it begins with a low, like throat voice, that throat singing.
And then you've got 10, which is a ballad, which you could get away with if it had 8 really strong songs before it, but
it doesn't. Oh boy, does it not. And then you've got, like, what is it, Psychotic. Oh god, Psychotic, which is like, oh god, the only comparison I could think of, and it stuck in my head, was the Wikibus review of that track, where it's just like, it sounds like Body Count without the street cred or charisma. As this like, yeah.
And I mean, I trust Wook. Like, his reviews are spot on, and I think he's pretty fair with this. I mean, they gave it 2 out of 5 on PRP, and his reviews online.
I think even that is generous. And my mark has varied on this, because the first couple of listens I was like, yeah, okay, there's a couple of duff tracks on there, but the start of it was so decent. Like I say, the first 5 songs of it was enough for me to think the remainder of it was bearable. But no, it's not. It's just not. It's not good enough, Rob.
I think there is remnants of a decent track in Grind You Down, but it's just pretty awful by the end of that as well. It's just messy.
Yeah, it falls.
And that's the thing. Even when these bits are okay, they're just subpar anyway.
And because they're subpar, they just come across as kind of self-indulgent.
Yeah,
like they haven't written it for anyone, and it's just like, let's just stick that down.
This will be the first Machine Head album I'm not going to buy, and you know I like having everything on the wall.
It's the first one I might take off my iPod. I mean, it's just...
it's disappointing. It really is.
It is. It's very disappointing.
But they're putting them in an awkward place as well, because, I mean, obviously one of the things that they came out with recently was An Evening With, setup, where you get this, extended set list, and it went down a storm. You went to one of them, you gave it a very positive review, and I like that idea. That's really cool. But they've said that they're continuing that, so obviously you've got it again. But the trouble is, if you're going to release stuff like this, you are going to see those numbers start to dwindle, and if you're not doing those other slots...
Yeah.
Where's this going to leave Machine Head in another 5 years?
The thing is, like, it made me think of the reviews people were giving Metallica's last album, and how, like, they were just like, all you need are sort of 3 or 4 really great tracks in an album of filler, just to sort of be like, yep, we can drop them into the live set, and that's all you need. I was like, okay, well, Machine Head have kind of done that. They've got 3 decent tracks that will fit nicely into a live set list, maybe 4 that would fit live. But you've still got 9 really bad. So they're not even filler. They're sub filler. It's not good enough.
It's a shame, because I think, we were just talking about like the downloads demographic now. If Machine Head were on the main stage at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I reckon they'd go down a storm and pull a huge crowd.
Not with this.
If
they played the hits.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, if they said Machine Head were doing that before we'd heard this, I really think, because they announced a few years ago, we're not going to do any more festival shows. They've put a lot online as to why that happens. I think you could also read between the lines and think, well, they probably weren't pulling the numbers they wanted. But I think, certainly with a crowd like Download, I think they really would pull it out of the bag, and they'd have an amazing show.
I'd always sort of said that they'd be a great second stage headliner.
Yeah,
but
they're amazing.
I don't think now. I don't think that... Oh, I don't know. This is...
It doesn't help that Rob's been such a dick about a few things as well.
Yeah, and this is going to be such a backlash on top of it. I mean, like, you can get away with some of the things he said if you've got the music to back it up, because the fans can just say, yeah, but the album's great, and I don't really care because I can just ignore that. And if the album's like this, and you're then going to point out that reviewers are kicking the album, and they're not, in respect to certainly the Decibel review, I do think some of it was...
I think it was a bit off.
A little too much.
Yeah.
But this album, it's not that it deserves a kicking, it's just, it's not good. It's not good enough.
I don't like this kind of arpeggiated riffing they seem stuck with as well. I don't know where that's... It's just... It overstays its welcome, all that stuff. And sometimes it's so loud as well. Like on Beyond the Pale, that kind of almost nicked off bullet. It's just, it's not for me. I just don't like it.
No, So score-wise,
send in your thoughts. Let us know if we're right or wrong, and tell us why. info@machograndepodcast.co.uk. But overwhelmingly, the reviews haven't been great online.
No, and again, trying to be fair about it, especially after sort of reading, like you say, you read fair reviews like from Workibus or whose other? There was someone else's review that I was reading that was like, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I've
And
not seen the
you know,
magazine ones. I don't know what. I mean, it kind of speaks volumes as well that like they've certainly not up to this new one. I've not seen the newest issue, but they normally Metal Hammer would be all over this and front cover. You know, and do you remember with they gave away the album for free on Metal Hammer, the Locust album, and it seems very very little coverage this year for this. So far, I mean, who knows? Rob might be on the front cover of the next one for all I know, but
No,
up to this point, there hasn't been much.
the thing is, you throw in all the sort of like the weird kind of stage costumes that they've brought in for this tour, and I don't know, it's odd. But yeah, score wise, I mean, out of 10, I'm at a 3.5 for me.
I was at 4, and then I put it on twice more today, and just ended up skipping so much of it, and I just don't ever want to go back to it. I'll give it that it has those one or two moments, like you say, and some of those opening tracks are okay. Catharsis I really like, but it doesn't seem more than that 2 to me. What are you going with? 3?
What do I want? I might change now. Hang on, let me think. What have I got it scored at on my?
I honestly don't want to hear another track other than Catharsis, to be honest. So I'm going to go with 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I think 2.5 from me.
What a shame.
What a shame. Yeah.
How much of it? So when you went to see them do an evening with Machine Head, what was it, like a 2.5 hour set?
2 or 15, yeah, 2 or about 2 or 15, 2.5 hours.
And how much off? What were they on at that point? Bloodstone and Diamonds.
Yes.
How much of that album were they playing? Would you say?
I would have said that they did a fair bit, at least half of that album.
Because you've got to think that they're definitely going to do like the first 3 songs and Kaleidoscope with no doubt they've got to be in the set.
And Triple Beam.
Oh right, okay.
And I can imagine them.
Do you think he'll attempt Bastards live?
Yeah, I do.
You reckon? Wow.
Yeah, at least once. Until it gets like,
oh dear.
You know, until someone throws like the you know, like a dwarf at him or something. You know, a sort of miniature Stonehenge. Yeah.
All right, so there we go. 2.5 out of 10 and 2 out of 10.
Yeah, sorry guys. If you like this album, I mean, did you like Machine Head before? I don't know who this album's for.
I don't, because that fan base that they managed to rebuild from Blackening aren't going to like this, and I don't think kids coming into metal now will particularly think this is good.
Isn't it just it's crazy that the same band who wrote what was regarded as the best metal album of the noughties has potentially done the opposite in the sort of the teens.
Yeah.
10 years later have just completely flipped the script.
But hey, look, we know Machine Head can jump around, and they've pulled it out the bag before, so hopefully they can come back. Hopefully we'll have a good run of dates. Are you planning on going to one of these evening withs?
Yeah, I mean, if they play anywhere near, if they do Norwich again, definitely.
I hope that goes well, and then I'd like to see them get out of that as well and do some decent runs with either, you know, it'd be nice to see them go out with somebody like Metallica again or something, you know, something high profile, keep them on the map. Because I'm always surprised. I remember reading an interview, I think it was Blackening, and I remember being absolutely gobsmacked that in some territories they're not, you know, like I was just saying, Volbeat, huge in Europe, and then over here they were nothing at the time. And Machine Head in certain territories, really small. Like they were saying on the Blackening tour, they were playing like 250 cap venues, which I just remember thinking, really? That I always just assumed Machine Head worldwide are this huge band. But I think in particular it was UK and Europe, just in general, that really embraced them early on. So yeah, I hope good things, you know, they can sort of stay on top, and then just next album, just pull it out of the bag again. But
well, fingers crossed.
So
it can't be any worse than this.
So do you want to play Catharsis? That's the only song we liked.
Okay, yeah, I think that. Well, it seems as that's the one that we both like. Go for it.
keeping me sane. music in my veins. And if these words are my fist, oh, can you feel my catharsis? Oh, can you feel my catharsis? Oh, come on, can you feel my catharsis? The only thing keeping me sane, the music in my veins. And if these words are my fist, oh, this is my catharsis.
So that was our review of Machine Head. Let us know what you think. You can always leave us a voicemail 05603 689 842 and we can play that on the show. I'd love to know what some of the listeners think, so please let us know.
Yeah, you can obviously talk to us via our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Macho Grande Podcast, or the Twitter @Macho Grande Pod.
So we're gonna keep it a bit snappier today because we just wanted to get this show online just to deal with Machine Head while it was new. Super quick bit of film chat. I have only watched Jigsaw, which is the latest in the Saw franchise.
Oh yes, I have seen that.
It started really well. Like the opening sort of 20 minutes was really fun and exactly what you want from a Saw film, where you're just enjoying horrible things happening to people. But then from that point on, my God, it falls apart. And the plot, I'm not really the sort of person that picks out on errors in films and thinking, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. But Jigsaw makes no sense whatsoever.
Nope.
So,
but
yeah,
some fun deaths in there.
By the end, it totally overstayed its welcome. So, yeah. It's a shame because did you feel the same? Like that opening 20 minutes really started off well.
I thought, this is the thing, I just had it on. It's like a kind of nonsense. Well, all the Saw films are kind of nonsense.
Yeah, they are, but in that kind of final destination where you just enjoy the silliness of, you know.
Yeah.
But it didn't manage to hold that up, though, I don't think.
Okay.
Not past 45 minutes, anyway. I think it really got a bit ridiculous by the end, and not in a good way.
Right.
And that's all I've managed. I haven't done anything else. I finished The Sinner on Netflix. That is a really good show. Have you watched that?
Which one?
The Sinner.
No.
Yeah, it's on Netflix now, and it's only like, I think it's like 8 parts, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, really good. Bill Pullman's good in it as well.
Okay. I'll have to check that out.
Oh, and I watched another Netflix. It's Not the End of the Fucking World.
Oh, I need to check that out.
Yeah, that's funny. That is well worth a watch. It's got some good people in it. Like good acting. The kids that are in it are really, really good. Anything that you want to add?
No.
Okay, quiet week this week. All right, so would you like a mystery box?
Oh yeah, I forgot about the mystery box.
So if you've not heard us before, this is where I read out an excerpt from 3 different press releases that have been sent to us. Matt hasn't seen any of them. He doesn't know who the bands are. He'll pick one of these 3 from the choices, and we'll play that band, and we'll never know who the other 2 were.
Yeah. Even if they sound fantastic, I always pick the wrong one, I would say.
Okay. Right, I've not pre-read these either, so... Okay, right, number 1. Be prepared for something quite out of the ordinary and out of this world. We have taken notes from the history of heavy guitar-driven music before the times of death metal, in fact, before the times of heavy metal. We have taken inspiration from the hard rock and prog rock movements of the early 70s and put a heavy death twist on it. For those who feel like retching at the sound of this, we can assure you that this is by all means a death metal album and not some silly retro 70s ties throwback 5 years too late for the trend.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 2. Skull-crushing, soul-wrenching, paint-peeling sludge with blackened touches, combining a massive wall of guitars, thickened bass tones, bone-rattling drums, and harsh vocals, featuring lyrics building on the themes of death and despair. This album clocks in at 50 minutes of pure, unadulterated American sludge.
Right.
Well, number 3... I don't know that you're really going to like any of these this week, but you have to pick it anyway. So, number 3, audiences' jaws will drop at the raw mining of emotions it contains, its searing sincerity and sheer innovation. This album is our best attempt at taking a fleeting snapshot of this living purgatory that we call life.
Oh, well, that kind of pretty much has described my week. So, yeah, well, well, we have two options. I either choose that one because I feel an affinity with the sort of dire desperateness of it all, or I flick a coin and hope that it.
Well, I don't know. The second one is themes of death and despair, so they're both pretty.
Oh yeah, true. But
or you could go for the 70s mixed with death metal.
Describe the third one again. Read the third one again.
The third one was audiences' jaws will drop at the raw mining of emotions it contains. Searing sincerity, sheer innovation, and this is their best attempt at taking a fleeting snapshot of this living purgatory that we call life.
Well, I think I'd quite like to see the best attempt, or let's hear the best attempt at summing up this purgatory that I call my life.
Is that what you're going for?
That's what I'm going for.
Okay, you've chosen Grieber.
Oh, he chooses
right.
poorly.
I've been meaning to get that sample for this. I am going to do that. Yeah, I've been meaning to get that.
Is this Griever?
Grieber so it's Greber. So I suppose it could be. It's not going to be Greber, is it? Grieber.
Yeah, well, Grieber. Grieber. Not to be mistaken with Griever or Griever.
Their album is called Cemetery Preston, and it came out right at the beginning of January. It's their third album. They formed in 2008, and they're from Ontario.
Oh, okay. Well, you've got me already. I do like Canadians.
Comedians.
Canadians. I don't mind comedians, but keep the comedy out of my metal. That's what I say.
I've always said that.
You know that I said that. I always say that.
I couldn't agree more.
No comedy in metal.
I didn't write down which track. We're going to play Backhanded Interest. So, yeah, here you go. See what you think. So, yeah, what do you think?
I really like that. That was awesome.
This is where I want the Indiana Jones sample.
He chose wisely.
Yeah. So yeah, well done, Matt. That was good.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that between you and I chose the right one there.
Uh-huh.
And we'll never know the other two bands because they weren't good enough.
Nope.
Appeal to my self-destructive nihilism.
Yeah, you need to. This week, I think you should just put something happier on and not watch the news and just
But I can't help it. It's like watching it's like a slow moving car crash. It's horrific. Anyway, what we're going to close out with?
Oh shit! I've fucked up because I've put that as the last one.
Okay.
So for the first time ever, we're just going to end. We're going to end like this.
We're just okay. Well, there you go, people. There's a first time for everything. That's how Macho Grande does it in 2018.
Leave us a review on iTunes.
Yeah, leave us a review. We've discovered that people aren't leaving us reviews, and we'd love it if you could leave us a review, 5-star preferably, because that helps our visibility increase.
So like the last episode has been downloaded near just over 1,000 times. So some of you new people out there, it would mean the world to us if you went on iTunes and gave us a quick review.
Yep, and we'll speak to you again soon. Info at machograndepodcast.co.uk, at Macho Grande Pod. We'll speak to you next time. Normally we close out with a track, but we're going to cut it off.
Yeah, this is weird.
This is... I don't even know. How do we stop it?
I don't know.
One of us needs to finish.
Oh, wait. We'll play the sample.
Oh, the sample? But where do you put it in? And do you just cut me off?
Over Macho Grande?
No, I don't think I'll ever get over Macho Grande.